At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
So good, so good, so good.
Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack.
Because they have framed jeans.
Nike? Yes.
Just so many good brands.
Vince, Kurt Geiger London, Rag & Bone, and more are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. You never know what you'll find, but you know it's going to be so good. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
The Pokemon Adventures audio drama is finally here. For right now, exclusively on Patreon. Join Red as he ventures off into the Kanto region to complete his Pokédex for Professor Oak.
This is a Pokédex, an encyclopedia of Pokemon.
Get his gym badges to battle the Elite Four.
Wow. Me? One of the greats?
And battle against the nasty Team Rocket, who is searching for a mysterious phantom Pokemon.
You know us. We're flattered.
Go to patreon.com/everypokemon to join this massive community right now to be able to listen to this new audio drama before anyone else. Again, that's patreon.com/everypokemon. Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is my battling partner. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how are you doing?
I'm ready to throw hands. Somebody's gonna get something tonight. I don't know what's gonna happen.
So, all right. We are recording this on a Monday of all days.
Yes.
So it's a new recording day for us. It's been a hot minute since we've been behind the microphone. We finally released, if people haven't been hearing the intro, the Pokemon audio drama. We released part 1 of 2 for the volume 1 this past week.
Yes.
And I am excited for everyone to finally hear it, bro.
Yeah. We all worked really hard to make it sound the best that we thought we could, and I know you worked some long nights.
Oh boy, did I!
I know how particular you can be sometimes, and I'm not saying that as a negative. And I really think the final product we put out there is something special, and I hope the fans enjoy it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And good feedback so far. And if you haven't listened to the audio drama yet, it is up exclusively on Patreon, and you can go to patreon.com/everypokemon and subscribe to our $10 tier, which is where it's at, and you can go ahead and take a listen. And if you haven't listened to any of our movies as well, the movies are behind that tier. I don't know if any of our fans have noticed, but we've done a little bit of remodeling when it comes to our podcast. We decided to start putting things exclusively on Patreon going forward, and what you're going to get behind Patreon. So there's 3 tiers. We have our regular $5 tier, which you can get all of our weekly shows for $5 with no ads. And recently, I went on to our free server because I don't go on there that often as outside of uploading our content. And boy, do we have a lot of ads on our stuff. Boy, I'm really happy that Spotify sponsors us, and they feel the need to put some heavy advertisements onto our episodes. Some more than others, but you could, to avoid all of that, you could actually go on to our Patreon for $5, and you can get all of our stuff at weekly shows ad free. And then we have a second tier, which is $10. And in the $10 tier is all of our weekly shows, most of them in advance. And you will get our movies that we do. We do 2 movies a year. And you're going to be getting the Pokemon audio drama going forward exclusively on Patreon. And to join the frenzy, you can go on there. And if you just want to give us like a try just with the ads, we do have a 7-day free trial on Patreon where you can go on there and listen to our shows ad free right on there. And you can have that for free. That's free. We're just giving that to you. And we know that if you are on there and you listen to it, we know that you'll like it and you'll stay, because you're getting a lot of content if you end up upgrading to the higher tiers that we have on there. Officially decided to kick up that Patreon, so go ahead and take a listen. And if you are skeptical, like I said, there is a 7-day free trial for our weekly shows, which I think is more than enough. And I guess we can kind of, because we're going to end up doing it closer to 2025, but we're not doing it yet. We're going to go back and do some mashups once we finally catch up on Horizons. We're going to do some mashups of the early Pokemon Kanto episodes that we used to do, and you'll be getting those mashups exclusively on Patreon, and that'll be fun to kind of go back and revisit those, kind of give every single episode a rating that we didn't really start the rating system and have the rating system where it's at right now back when we first started, so it'll be nice to finally get some ratings under a couple of those first episodes. So that'll be pretty cool, right, Doug?
Yeah, because we didn't really, at the offset of the show, even though we were coming off of a pretty good run with the wrestling podcast, we didn't really know how we were going to approach, other than, we were going to talk about everything. But we were just kind of, talking about episodes. We hadn't really, penned down our rating system. If we did, we probably would have rated some of those early episodes higher than they should have gotten, just based off of nostalgia.
Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting to kind of look back with a more critical lens and go, no, don't get blinded just because it's a classic episode. Like, if it sucks, it's,
Exactly. And we'll be doing them in mashup form, so you'll probably most likely be getting about 4 episodes at a time. But you guys like the mashup forums that we do, and it will kind of help out with some of those early episodes where we acknowledge that the audio was really off, and the way that we used to record those podcasts wasn't the greatest. So what's our way to treat all of you who have been loyal and have stood by us is by giving you some of these episodes again in proper form, in mashup form for you.
And another benefit of redoing some of the early ones, we'll be able to go back and give it the enhanced treatment. We'll be able to throw in, if there's an iconic clip, we'll be able to throw it in. If there's a funny Ash Ketchum line, we'll be able to throw it in.
Just like Ash when he was battling Caterpie and teasing Misty because she was scared of bug Pokemon that we learned, and Ash was just ruthless. Yeah. You'll be getting all of that.
and we redo the Cubone episode, and we put in every single time they reference the game without referencing the game.
Yes. So you'll be getting that pretty soon. That's going to be an early. I think me and Doug kind of timed it out. That's going to be a mid-January, early February project that we'll be doing for you, because we'll be fully caught up with Pokemon Horizons by that point, and I don't see us continuing Horizons after that until some more episodes come out. But at that point, you'll be getting real life responses to these episodes that we're going over right now. And honestly, pretty soon you'll be getting some episodes on here that just haven't been covered by Netflix in the US yet, but it's been covered everywhere else, because we do have access to some of those episodes, and we'll be going over those for you. So that's just a little bit of a PSA moment for you. So there you go. We tied down next year's project. We tied down our Patreon, and we tied down that people can go and start listening to this audio drama that we've been beating them over the head with all summer, and we said was going to come out in the summer and didn't come out until goddamn October. You ready to get on into these episodes?
Absolutely.
All right. So you clicked on this episode, so you know which episodes that we're doing. But in case you blindly just download our episodes, which we thank you, and you listen to our show, we are going over the last 4 episodes of Horizons today for the Part 2 section on Netflix in the U.S. And these episodes include Kabu's Battle Training, which is episode 20, and it premiered in Japan on September 1st, 2023. The next episode that we'll be going over is the Lonely Hatenna, which premiered in Japan on September 8th, 2023. The episode after that we're going to go over is Charge Galar Mine, which premieres September 15th of 2023. And the last one is Fury Galarian Moltres, which premieres September 22nd in Japan. So I know I normally go through the Japanese titles, but I will hit those as we're going through these. So to start it off, for the first one, the Japanese title matches the English title. It's Kabu's Battle Training. So that's the episode that we're going to start off with here. And these are going to be some pretty fun episodes to go over, bro. All right. You ready to jump on into our first episode?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me just make sure that my volume's down, because I don't want no copyright infringement, people. All right. So we are.
Yeah, we're friendly, Pokemon Company. We're not trying to come for your spot or nothing. We're not.
Yeah, and I love Pokemon Company, but the way that Nintendo and Pokemon are attacking the general public these days, I want none of that smoke. So.
yeah, I don't want that smoke.
Because nothing against you, but if Pokemon Company says take this down, I'm like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I will right now. It's deleted.
I'll do that yesterday. Matter of fact, I apologize for even hitting the.
It never even went up. I don't even know what you're talking about. It's gone. It's smoked. Bazooka. Boom. God. All right.
Yeah, boom. It's gone. It wasn't ever anyway.
All right. So we start our first episode that we're going over today with Liko. It's Liko and Roy. They're we ended last week's episode with the introduction of Kabu, and Kabu was on his morning run, and he's being greeted by a lot of the villagers that are out here. So he's over here and he's talking about how it's nice to be out here. He's out for his morning run, and Murdoch tells Roy, why don't you ask him about the the Rayquaza, the black Rayquaza.
I was jogging in the area, but I couldn't pass up the delicious sweets they sell here.
If you get a chance, you should drop by our store.
That would be nice.
Stadium, is that okay?
Yes, of course it is.
So he's Kabu, the gym leader? It's so cool, we're getting to meet him!
I watched the battle, by the way. Your clever use of leafage impressed me.
Really? You saw that?
Yes, your strong bond with Sprigatito really shone through.
Did you hear that, Liko?
Wait a minute, Roy. You should go ahead and ask him about the black Rayquaza.
Yeah, that's right. Sir?
Now, if you'll forgive me, I have to get back to my jog. Bye and thanks, everybody!
Wait, don't go yet! I'm coming too! Bye, see you later!
Hey, wait! Stop, you two!
So they go and they start running up after him, and Roy comes up behind Kabu, and Kabu is like, "Oh, you decided to come running as well. Well, I'll see you later." And he just speeds off.
He takes that as a challenge, and he takes off. He's
and,
I got a partner, and he's just gone.
So he just starts storming off, and Roy, ironically, he's just like, "Oh man," he's like, and he kind of stops for a second. He's like, "He's so fast," and we get the introduction to the show, and then after the introduction, we are met up at Kabu's gym. So they finally got to the gym, and this is where we are greeted by Wakaba, and she is a trainer over at this gym, and she's training to be a future gym leader. So Kabu is kind of training her. We kind of get her background, and Liko and Roy are sitting there, and they're like, "Well, we came here so we can ask Kabu a question." And she's like, "Oh, you got a question for Kabu? Okay, come on, right this way." And in the way of going into the gym, she's kind of going over her resume about how she's aspiring to be a future gym leader, but that right now she's just a trainer, and that she's challenged Kabu many, many, many times, and that she has failed every single time. And Doug, I'm going to slap you with this next part of the scene once they get into the stadium where Kabu is.
Right. So they walk in to the main, battleground, and Kabu spots him, and he's like, "I remember you from the cafe." And, they introduce themselves, and they introduce, Sprigatito and Fuecoco, and, Roy's like, "Well, I really, had this question about this black Rayquaza, that I've seen, and, we've had some run-ins, and, this kind of triggers something in Kabu." He's like, "Oh, the black Rayquaza," and
that's when Roy takes out the Pokemon.
He's like, "Yeah, I got this," and Kabu's like, "Oh my gosh, so I wasn't crazy," because he's like, "I saw it just the other day, while I was out on my run, and I wasn't sure if I was just seeing things, like if I wasn't quite awake yet." And so Roy's like, "All right, cool. So you saw it. So and he's like, "Yeah, but I wasn't really following it because I was, trying to get my run in." And Roy's like, "Oh, shoot. Well, okay, well, at least I'm not crazy." Which, I might beg to differ, but I just don't like Roy, so here we are. And basically it winds up that because they kind of realize, well, we are, at a gym, and we are, supposed to be like up and coming trainers, and Kabu's like, "Well, how about, I put you to the test because, you came into my gym, looking for answers, and I was gracious enough to, entertain your questions for a second, but now I kind of want to see kind of where you stack up in all this. So I've got a little bit of a test for both of you, and they're like, we weren't really prepared for school or nothing. And he's like, oh, no, it's a practical. And this is when we're introduced to like the training part of Kabu's training, and it's like it ends up kind of being a 1v1 competition involving Liko, Roy, Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and a pack of Litwicks.
Yes. And how does this competition work?
Yes. So, is it 20 Litwicks? I know they flash score. Okay,
so there's 20 there's 20
yeah.
apiece. There's 20 lit and there's 20 that's not lit. And
so that's a good catch. I didn't catch that. So basically the way it works is Liko is telling Sprigatito to use leafage to extinguish the flames on the Litwick. And conversely, Roy is telling Fuecoco to use Ember to relight, not to relight, but to light the flames on the other side of the Litwicks. Now, I found this interesting because, I mean, we remember the classic Charmander episode, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, oh my gosh, if Charmander's flame goes out, it's bad news for old Charmander. So, what is the flame on a Litwick if it's not the life source?
So, Litwick, if I'm remembering correctly, is more along the lines, I think it's a ghost Pokemon. Yeah. So it's a ghost. Okay. It's a ghost and fire Pokemon. So the flame on it, yes, I mean it's a real flame, but it's not one that's sourced where if the Litwick doesn't have it, it will die. Because technically, it's not even living already, because it's part ghost already.
Okay, well that's a good kind of workaround, I guess.
Yes. Don't you just love the way that they did that?
Yeah, I love the way that they can bend their rules to make it fit plots, and they can because otherwise, I mean, what is a battle like, or what could a battle be other than a battle to the death? But oh no, they just faint and they can be revived. It's like, okay, so we're not necessarily killing anybody here.
We're playing by house rules at this point, Doug.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good that I realized that at some point. I mean, we've only been talking about Pokemon for going on 5 years here.
Oh, jeez. Yep. So. All right, so they start this competition, and as they're going through the competition, they're gonna do this twice. So the first go round, Roy and Fuecoco really can't get on the same page as trainers, and Roy starts showing his young age. And he's like, oh man, I can't do it. This is really hard. Blah, blah, blah. And Liko is breezing through this competition like really, really well. So this is where kind of the gist of the episode is going to get, I guess it's comeuppance, because Liko ends up noticing how frustrated Roy is getting and how frustrated Fuecoco is getting. And it's at this point that Kabu comes over and is like, you know what? Let's all take a break. Let's all rejoin together. Let's get these Pokemon some food real quick and we'll try again. And it's at this point that after they're done eating, they go back and they go and start doing the competition again. But Liko, in so little words, doesn't go as hard as she was going before to kind of help out Roy in a way. And Kabu notices. And Liko basically lets Roy win to build up his courage and to build up Fukoko's courage. Well, what did you think about that, bro?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head, 100%. And something else I noticed, because it was getting down to gritty. It was like, and you had Sprigatito was looking back, going, I've got a clear shot at like 5 of them. I mean, I could do something. And I found it interesting that Sprigatito didn't bring it upon herself to just do it. Like, she was legit waiting for Liko to give her a command, whereas I feel like, especially later on in the series, Ash's Pikachu would have just been, oh, Ash just has his head in the clouds again. Let me just take care of this, and by the time he turns around, I'll win the damn thing.
Yeah. For real.
So you can see kind of both where Liko is as a trainer and Sprigatito's experience level. And so that part of the competition's over, and Roy and Fuecoco are happy with themselves because they showed some stick-to-itiveness and they found their rhythm. And that's when Kabu comes over and he's like, all right, for this next bit, we're going to have a tag team match. It's going to be myself and Wakaba versus Liko and Roy. And they're like, we didn't know we were going to battle, but, let's go.
Roly-Coly, give it your best!
Burn bright, set a scorch!
Oh, there it is! A fire and bug type, the Radiator Pokemon Scorch! Its personality is extremely aggressive, and it launches attacks while running a 1500-degree body temperature. It's Kabu's strongest partner by far. It looks strong. Yup. Wait, Coco, use Ember! Wait, what?
Yes, Scorch's ability is Flash Fire. Fire attacks don't work on it.
So they start their Pokemon battle, and Roy finds out that his fire attacks are not going to work against Centris Court. I'm definitely saying that wrong. It's like a torch and centipede. So Centris Court? I don't know. So that his Ember attacks are not going to work up against Kabu's Pokemon because it just takes it in, and it actually helps make it a little stronger. But at the same time, what is Liko and Sprigatito going to do? Because they're a grass Pokemon, and they are weak against fire, brother. And Centricore starts doing... let me see. He starts doing Flame Wheel, and boy, this Flame Wheel, I don't know how these Pokemon survived this hit, but they both got hit. Actually, Sprigatito didn't really get hit as much as Fuecoco. Fuecoco was able to get hit while Sprigatito dodged. And it's at this point that Wakaba is starting to get like a little timid, so they're both, nobody's battling her Pokemon, and Liko and Roy are trying to take down Kabu's Pokemon. So it's basically a 2-on-1 battle, and Wakaba is kind of frozen there. And it's at this point that both Kabu's Pokemon and Roy's Pokemon start using their Ember attacks together, but with Kabu's Pokemon being at a lot higher of a level, ends up overpowering Fuecoco, and Fuecoco gets burned, and he is knocked out. So this leaves Kabu out of the battle, and it's Liko versus Wakaba, and Sprigatito is basically barely holding on. And they start to battle, but Liko starts feeling bad for Wakaba because Wakaba starts being kind of a little bit unsure of herself during the Pokemon battle, and Liko believes that she's about to win. And even though she believes that she is about to win this and she wants to help out Wakaba, she kind of just stops the battle.
I give up. You win. Huh? Sorry, I don't understand. I'm pretty sure that after today's training, Sprigatito's really tired. And if we keep battling, then...
Are you purposely trying to lose? Are you throwing in the towel when you could totally still keep going?
I didn't mean it that way.
Even if I became a gym trainer after this, it's wrong. I don't want to win this way. I want my dreams to come true by my own power. If not, it's worthless.
Kabu comes over to Liko and is like, well, I see what you're doing, and I see you kind of did this with Roy earlier. Now, your Pokemon are battling for you, and you're giving up on the battle, which is not fair for the trainer that you're battling, and it's not fair for your Pokemon either, because your Pokemon is fighting for you to help get stronger on their own. So, at this point, you have to really think about what you're really doing and how you're doing it, because it's affecting everyone around you. Now, I'm glad that you stood back, and I'm proud that you noticed the things that you noticed during the Pokemon battle. But you, during a Pokemon battle, you also have to think about the others that are around you as well. And how did you feel about this little speech that Kabu was giving Liko, bro?
Pardon me. I thought it was a fine speech. I thought Liko was kind of a punk here. And, cause, the whole pulling back on the reins. And when Kabu said that part about, you're letting your Pokemon down as well, we saw a shot of Sprigatito, and Sprigatito kind of had her back to the situation, and Liko kind of looks down and goes, "Will you forgive me, Sprigatito?" And Sprigatito's like, "Not really, not right now."
I was prepared to keep going, and you just called the battle off.
This is the second time in like half an hour, because I was going to win that competition too, and you just spaced. And, I'm supposed to look to you for guidance, and you're just out here trying to spare people's feelings. And Liko kind of looks around, and she's like, well, shit, now I gotta go, apologize to Wakaba. And, she finds Wakaba in a hallway, and she goes to apologize, but at the same time she goes to apologize, Wakaba goes to apologize for having an outburst. So, we're basically apologizing at each other, and it kind of gets to a point where Wakaba's like, well, I'm disappointed, but it's another chance to learn. It's another bit of experience under my belt, and I'm going to keep getting better, every time I go out on the floor. And, Liko's kind of like, well, I got to learn to focus on myself and I gotta respect, the competition and all that. And we kind of come to an understanding.
Yes. And it gets to the point that she ends up getting back onto the Rising Boat Tackler ship, and she's thinking back to this, and she's kind of wondering what her place in this world is really, because she's like, I want to be a good trainer, but I also want to do what's right. And then she kind of flashes back to Kabu saying, well, you need to kind of find your place in this world and just go with it. And so that's kind of where we left the ending of that episode. And it wasn't a bad episode.
No, it wasn't. I mean, any episode where you get a substantial of battling, let alone the little training session with the Litwick. There was definitely a lot going on, but I feel like as soon as Liko kind of, waved the white flag on the battle, I feel like the episode kind of crawled to an ending, rather.
Yeah, it did. So, what would you? Well, I guess we'll go through our ratings of the episode at the very end. So we're getting ready to go into the next episode, which is the Lonely Hatenna, which I feel like this one's going to be more of just a talking point because we're basically chasing around one Pokemon the entire episode until the very ending. So, are you ready to jump on into this next episode, bro, and see what this episode is going to give us?
Definitely.
All right. So,
definitely, because I was excited to see this episode because it addressed one of my major gripes with Liko so far in the series. It was like, here, we hear you. Fine, shut up.
Just like that, Doug?
Exactly like that. It might have even been word for word.
So, all right. So the Japanese title of this episode is The Lonely Mibrim, and in English it's called The Lonely Hatenna. And let's go ahead and cue that Pokeball and jump on into this episode. Here we go here. So I'm starting up the episode now, and I'm going to skip any recap if they're about to go through a goddamn recap now. And they don't! Woohoo! Alright. So we start this episode. It's really dark out, and it looks like we're in a forest, and we see Hatenna just running and just getting scared, and it's thundering and it's lightning, and you see a whole bunch of Pokemon that are around that are trying to comfort Hatenna, but the thunder and lightning is what's scaring Hatenna, and Hatenna just keeps running, and it's running, and it's running, and it's running, and it finds a little house in the middle of this forest, and it goes in there, and it just hides. It finds a little spot, and it crawls in, and it's going to hide until the storm passes. And then we get the intro to the show, and we start the main part of this episode with Liko. She just finished up class virtually on her Rotom phone, and she's talking to her friend that we saw in the first couple episodes of Pokemon Horizons, because they've been keeping in touch for a while, and we find out that her friend has captured a Sandshrew. So she now has a Sandshrew and an Oshawott, and that they are best friends.
That was a pretty good class, wasn't it? Hey, Liko! Did you get that essay done yet? The one about what we want to be? Not exactly. To be honest, I'm not even sure I know where I want to start. Oh, yeah? I mean, I basically wrote that I want to win a bunch of battles with Oshawott. Nothing ever shakes you, does it? Sandshrew? Sorry about that. Guess it's time to meet Sandshrew. You got it yourself? Sure did. Sandshrew. And Oshawott just loves having a new friend around it. How about you, Liko? When are you gonna catch a new Pokemon? Oh, I don't know. I don't think I want to yet. I just want to concentrate on raising Sprigatito. Huh. Liko, are your classes over? Yeah, just finished. Hey, sorry, Anne, I gotta go. We're about to head out to Galar Mine. A mine? Well, that sounds like a fun adventure. Just be careful, okay? Yeah, talk to you soon.
We kind of get Liko's, inner monologue. We get this a lot this episode, and she's kind of looking, and she's like, "Well, second Pokemon, I hadn't really thought about it." And then we see that her and Roy and Freed, and I guess by extension Cap, are getting off the ship,
and they're going for a walk.
To go. And that's what it is, right? It's just like, hey, let's get off and stretch our legs for a second. It's not like, they're not like
they're just getting off, stretching their legs, going for a nice walk, and if they run into any Pokemon, it's a plus.
And pardon me. And Liko's kind of hanging back a little bit, and she's kind of watching Roy and Fuecoco. They're in very high spirits. They're singing, which I know I don't like Roy, but I could not do the singing. I could not. I would have to put my headphones in or something. I could not do the singing.
Hey! Sometimes when we're in the car, I sing.
Well, no, see, but there's a difference. Because you're singing to music that's playing. They're just making up songs in their head.
True. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. No, you're just like, hold on, this part bangs, and you sing a couple lines, but they're just singing just because they can't be alone with their thoughts. And I don't even mean to lump Fuecoco in there. He's just following the lead of his trainer. But
no, I think it's opposite. I think because remember, Fuecoco likes to sing, and that's where it gets a lot of its courage is through music.
Oh,
so remember when it fell off the ship before it even met Roy? It was singing, and then it fell off the ship. And when it fell off the ship, by being stuttered of being seen, it started singing in the forest, and that's how Roy and Fuecoco met up with each other.
Oh shit, that's a good catch.
So
I had forgotten that part. That's a really good catch.
So they end up at kind of a fork in the road, and they're like, "Which way should we go?" And then Freed looks over at Liko and is like, "Liko, you choose." And Liko is conflicted because she's thinking back to what just happened with Kabu. And she's like, and Roy, in so little words, he doesn't say this exactly, but he's like, "You're taking too long. All right, I'm going to spin around in a circle, and wherever I stop, that's the side that we're going to go. 1, 2, 3, let's go this way." And Liko's like, "But how do you know you're going the right way?" And Roy literally says, he's like, "Well, if we're going the wrong way, we could always turn around."
Which again is a fine thought. I don't know how practical it is, but it's a fine thought.
Right? So they end up going, so it's a split road, and they end up going to the right. And they end up walking down, and they come to another stop where we end up finding out that they did go the wrong way. So now they're running back because it is now pouring rain, and they find a little house, the same house that Hatenna had went into just minutes ago in the episode. And they go in, and they're getting all dry, and all of a sudden they hear something breathing in one of the little wooden crates. So and Sprigatito smells it as well. So they open up the crate, and there's Hatenna just sleeping inside of one of the crates. And Liko is like, "Oh, that's Hatenna. It looks like it's in a deep sleep." Roy pulls out his Pokédex, and he registers Hatenna into the Pokédex at this point. And they're like, "Oh man, we should probably get Hatenna back somewhere. It looks like it's in rough shape." So they end up running Hatenna back over to the Rising Boat Tackler's ship. And it's at this point, I'm going to hand this part over to you if you don't mind, bro. Once they get back, and I believe they meet up with Molly on the ship, and Molly and Chansey are telling that Hatenna is an emotional Pokemon.
Yeah, and this is kind of where we kind of learn that, it's a calm Pokemon, and because Liko was the first one to kind of notice that, it wasn't just sleeping, like that there might be something, wrong. So she bundled up Hatenna and they ran back to the ship. Liko, I think, said, "I'm sorry, but I've got to get back to the ship. I've got to get back to Molly." And, they get, pardon me, she gets to Molly and Chansey and they're like, "Well, this is it's a calm Pokemon, calm or calming, I can't remember." And they're just kind of giving it the once over, and it's well, it's physically fine, but we're not sure if it saw something. I mean, we as the viewer know that at the very start of the episode, it was outrunning the initial storm, rather.
Yes.
But obviously, Liko and the crew don't have the benefit of
hindsight.
Of watching with us, because that would be meta as hell. And Liko kind of takes it upon herself to kind of be responsible for, I don't want to say pepping Hatenna back up, but I don't know, making sure it can get back on its feet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hatenna's in a funk, and she's like, "Oh, I think, I'll watch after her and kind of make sure it kind of comes back to itself." And at one point, she kind of loses track of Hatenna.
Because Hatenna just gets scared and just starts running around the entire ship.
Right. So, her and Dot are looking all over the ship, and they're in the kitchen, and Murdoch, of course, has food on the brain, and he's like, "Oh, snack time?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll be back for snack time later." Murdoch's like, "Well, thank you for letting me say a couple lines." And that's when Liko gets the idea it's Roy, isn't it? Gets the idea with the Pokemon trap.
Yes. The nice little food on the box.
And they're like, "Oh, what's that going to do?"
No Pokemon is going to fall for that. And then all of a sudden, you see Fuecoco fell for the damn trap.
And he's so proud of himself. He's like, "I found food just sitting here on a box." And they're like, "Oh, Fuecoco." And then we see some chow there. Chow time, I guess, because the other Pokemon in the ship kind of gather around the bowl, and they're just kind of having an impromptu little session. And Hatenna kind of pokes its head out, and Alchemy sees it and is like, "Oh, there's plenty to go around. Here, have a handful." And Hatenna's like, "Nope, I'm being confronted. I'm gone," and just leaves again.
And it starts to rain again as well. And as she's chasing Hatenna goes to what would you call this? Like the mid deck, that's surrounded by glass, so they're not getting wet by the rain, but it has like a telescope.
It's the observation deck.
There you go. So Hatenna goes over to the observation deck, and it's looking out the window, and it's just scared. And Liko walks over, and she's still in search of Hatenna, and Hatenna jumps down from the window and runs around the corner. And Liko goes up there. She was about to leave, and she's like, oh, I guess it's not over here either. And it starts to hear Hatenna on the side looking for it. And Liko and Hatenna start having a small conversation. She's like, do you want to come with me? Are you scared? And Hatenna is like, yes, I'm really scared. And Hatenna just jumps over and Liko and jumps into her hoodie and literally just falls asleep. Because remember, Hatenna goes off of the emotions of people and Pokemon that's around it. And she got really good vibes from Liko. So now she trusts Liko 1,000% and is comfortable being around Liko. Doug?
So, pardon me. We kind of have, everybody kind of reconvenes and, Molly and Freed are kind of saying what you said. They're like, well, Hatenna, must be getting good vibes from you and it must trust you because, not only is it on, essentially on your body, but it fell, right asleep. And they go back to basically where this all started, and they're gonna do the whole Ash Ketchum special, go on, get. And
they literally tried to put Hatenna out into the world before Hatenna is even ready to even go out on its own. And Hatenna is just like, I want to stay with you. And Liko looked confused, right, bruh?
Yes, she did. She's like, I didn't know. Again, I didn't know 2 Pokemon were legal.
Hatenna? Are you saying you want to come with me? That is the first time I've heard your voice.
Liko?
Thank you for taking the first step, Hatenna. I'll do everything I can to send you feelings that'll make you happy, okay? And now I have a Hatenna.
And she's like, would you like to come along and be part of our journey? And once again, because they're not allowed to own their own Pokeballs, who had the Pokeball? Was it Murdoch?
Yeah. Or yeah, it was Murdoch. Murdoch hands Liko a Pokeball so she can go ahead and catch Hatenna.
And she kind of gets down on Hatenna's level, and she's like, thank you for agreeing to take this step with me. And she literally holds the Pokeball out, and Hatenna hits the Pokeball and goes in. She doesn't even throw it. She doesn't, at least Ash threw most of his if he was going to be catching a Pokemon, and I just used air quotes for those of you listening, which I suppose are all of you. And, I will say it did do the customary shakes, but the ball literally never left Liko's hand.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships are Bermudan and British Registry.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why Milo's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards Milo's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join Milo's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
You're correct, bro. And now, I know we should be getting, hopefully pretty soon. I'm hoping within the next couple seasons of this show, they meet wild Pokemon, they battle it, and then they catch it. Right now, as it stands, we're not getting that. We're getting, oh, you want to be friends? Let's be friends.
Let's be friends.
And I'm not used to that because Ash, one thing that was good about Ash was Ash sat there and he was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go and I'm going to capture you and you're going to become my friend. He at least battled.
Yeah.
They're not battling.
No. I mean, now, wait a minute. How did Roy get Wattrel?
Well, he got Wattrel. Let's see. Wattrel was being let. Remember, it went back with its pack, and Wattrel was like, "I don't want to be with my pack. I want to be with Roy." And it jumped out and it flew out. And as it was flying out, Freed was like, "I think it wants to come with you. Here, take this Pokeball." And he gave him a Pokeball, and yeah.
See, I had an image of Roy at least battering the Watch. Battling, not battering. He's not eating it. But you're right. Shit, okay. So, yeah, I mean, but like I say, one of my big gripes with Liko, in the amount of episodes we've watched, is she's literally just running around with Sprigatito, and Sprigatito literally knows who attacks and what are we doing here.
And I think if we stay with this anime long enough, bro, I think we will end up enjoying it a little bit more because we're literally following a trainer that's not Ash, that literally knows nothing. And she's literally going to start learning everything that comes season 2. Season 2 should be all about her getting badges and stuff when it comes to Pokemon, because I take it season 1 is going to be all about getting this Rayquaza back and then battling Rayquaza.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the next 2 episodes that we're about to talk really kind of hammer that in.
Yes, because remember, we're still on season 1. We're just within all these parts. I mean, we get the same theme song, but the theme song's getting ready to have some different pieces involved in the music video pretty soon. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're about to get that starting in part 3. So.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So you're same song, just different animation throughout the video.
Different animations. Nice. I like when they switch it up every once in a while.
So, but yeah, she ends up catching Hatenna, and you want to finalize this with our bad guys. They make a slight appearance at the end of this episode, bro.
And it's good that they do, because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I had kind of forgotten about the Explorers a little bit.
Yes.
Because it had been because they don't have Team Rocket syndrome where, Team Rocket, even if they were only going to be on screen for like 5 minutes, they had to be in each episode. And if they weren't, it was noteworthy. But yeah. We see our little buddy Amethio, and he's talking to 2 of his colleagues
Anya and Zerk.
Almost there. We'll be anchoring in a cove near Galar Mine.
And there's a black Rayquaza here?
According to all the eyewitness intel we gathered, it's there all right.
Thank you both for your help.
Huh?
I'll handle things from here. You know I've been taken off the pendant mission. Continuing to work with me means disobeying orders.
Sir, you say that like we're all a bunch of strangers here.
I will stand by your side until the end.
What she said. We're with you, sir.
Do as you wish.
Yes, sir.
That is literally how we end that episode. So, like you said, Doug, I feel like that episode was a little bit better going through it than it was kind of watching it, because we kind of get to hash out the different things that are going on in that episode. But now we're getting ready for Charge Galar Mine, which is the next episode. And these last two episodes really, really hit. And
they really work well as a two-parter. So they almost could have done part 1 and part 2, but they didn't. But they basically did, because they continued right where the last part left off.
Yes. And the Charge Galar Mine, in translated from Japanese title, is Clash Galar Mine. So they literally only had one different word. So we had Charge and they had Clash. We meet up with our heroes, and they're now at the Galar Mine. And we're literally starting up from the last episode, and Roy feels like Rayquaza is inside of this mine. And Hatenna starts to shake in Liko's hoodie. That's a really nice spot that they chose to have Hatenna, so Hatenna doesn't have to be in its Pokeball all the time. Like,
right.
Just being in the hoodie, because, I mean, I feel like that's something that they missed out with Misty, because nothing against Misty, but Misty they had to draw Misty holding Togepi all the time in every single episode.
They did.
And her arms had to be kind of strategically drawn, because unless Togepi was on the ground, it was just holding her right above her stomach like a mother.
Right.
So, but all right. So we start this episode, and they go on in and they start the music video. And after the music video, hey Doug, remember a few episodes ago when we got the Swirlix cotton candy that should be hard as a rock right now?
Yes, sir.
So Dot's finally getting around to reviewing the cotton candy with Quaxley.
Okay, Quaxley, we're digging in. Come on! And that wraps the first of my new videos, Nido Thinks Gourmet Thing. In this one, we tried Motostoke's top treat wreck, Swirlicious Cotton Candy. Thanks to Rhydon's Muscles for the yummy suggestion. So good! Oh yeah, and all you trainers who've subscribed to my channel.
I can call it a day on this one. Doing these foodie reviews is kind of a pain.
And she's kind of in a slump, and Quaxley is just laying on the bed, just all passed out. And she's like, man, I hope they already made it over to that mine. I kind of feel like they kind of inspire her a little bit, or maybe she's a little bit worried as to what's going on over in that mine. Is that what you kind of got, Doug?
I think because, like, when we were first introduced to Dot, she was kind of the shut-in. She was, standoffish. She was using Nido Thing as, like, her out-facing personality. And I think that even though she's kind of come out of her shell a little bit, I mean, we saw in the last episode, like, her and Liko were kind of, prowling around trying to locate Hatenna and all that. Yeah. I still think there's a little bit of living vicariously through Liko and Roy and Freed, because they get to leave the ship and, have these adventures. I shouldn't say get to, because I feel like if Dot wanted to, she could be part of the traveling party, but she possibly hasn't worked herself up to get there yet. That's how I'm looking at it. I mean, I could be off base.
Okay. So from that, we get a brief interaction with Murdoch, Molly, and Orla.
Look alive, people! Snack time!
Been looking forward to it all day.
That must be one of the new spare parts you bought. That thing's so shiny it hurts my eyes.
I know! Isn't it the most absolute beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life? You can only find this in Modesto, nowhere else. Oh, I just live for the luster. I'll install it later. Cargill's gonna be psyched, I know it. And you know what else I love? Look at this spring! It's titanium, which is really light, but you wouldn't believe how strong and precise it is.
They look over and they see that Liko has been posting on her, I guess you can call it their version of an Instagram. They're posting photos of being out there with their Pokemon. Murdoch looks over and tells Alchemy to go ahead and put the cream on the coffee. And he's like, don't take this personally, but there is something wrong with this coffee. They're like, that's because it's not coffee, it's tea. And he's like, oh. I just assumed it was coffee. And that's kind of the funny moment that we get from this episode. And from there, we are back inside of the Galar Mine. And while we are in this Galar Mine, we start noticing that the Pokemon inside of this mine seem very frantic. And there's something wrong with these Pokemon. And Liko, Roy, and Freed start noticing. They're like, what is going on with all these Pokemon? And Liko's like, maybe they just don't want us here. And Freed is like, they're used to having people over here inside of the mine. So that's really weird because they people work in this mine all the time. And they look around and they see a bunch of glowing crystals inside of the mine. And they think that this glowing might be due to Rayquaza being inside of this mine. So, Doug, you want to take it away from here?
So, yeah, Liko and Roy notice the crystals, and they're like, well, this has to be a sign. Rayquaza has to be, here. And they kind of start looking around. Fuecoco and Sprigatito actually take off, which... Again, kids, keep your Pokemon in Pokeballs whenever possible.
Yes.
So they're like, well, now we gotta go get them. So they take off after their Pokemon. And,
they get lost.
Yeah, they get lost.
So, yeah, and Freed, but, he was just going on, like, a little rant for these Pokemon, or for Rayquaza, and he didn't even notice that Liko, Roy, Fuecoco, and Sprigatito have run off, and he's like, oh, where'd they go? And you have Fuecoco and Sprigatito literally chasing after the Pokemon that's inside of here, either trying to play with it or freaking Sprigatito looked like it was trying to hurt.
Sprigatito was hunting.
Sprigatito was 1,000% hunting this Drillbur that was inside, and Drillbur's like, oh no, it's still following me. Oh no, it wants to eat me. And Liko had to grasp Sprigatito and just be like, that is not nice.
Sprigatito was like, I was right there.
I almost had it.
And I call bullshit on this. I mean, it's a little detail, but I still call it bullshit because Freed was able to call Liko's phone.
Yeah, what about it?
They're underground.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be signal. I mean, I lose signal if I go into my basement. For goodness sakes, I can hardly check the laundry and listen and keep listening to a podcast if I go anyway. he's like, where the heck did you guys go? And it's at that point that Liko and Roy kind of look up and go, oh, we don't know how to get back. and Free's like, son of a gun. Okay, don't do anything stupid. We'll come
don't
find
go
you.
anywhere is literally what he said.
Yeah, don't move.
Just stay where you are. And of course, what does Roy do as soon as she gets off the phone?
Take off.
Yes. Oh, it gets even better, bro. And I know you're sitting here and you're like, well, that's Roy for you because you don't like Roy. But
I don't like Roy.
But she literally told him, she said, Freed told us to stay right here. He's like, but I think I hear Rayquaza. You know what? Screw it. And he just goes and just darts. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, as soon as Doug sees this is not going to help him not liking Roy. But I mean, at the end of the day, what they're about to uncover inside of this mine is we do find out that the explorers have entered the cave. They have now gone and they are inside of the cave and they are looking for the Rayquaza just like Roy is.
Oh shit, that's right. Because doesn't Liko say something like that voice sounds familiar or something?
Yeah, in just a little bit. They haven't met up yet.
And so that must have been, from Roy's perspective, that must have been the commotion he was hearing. And so then we kind of click back to Freed, and he's like, "Well, so what's our best avenue to find him?" And Cap kind of pointing at him and Charizard, and they're like, "All right, well, we'll split up and we'll know how to find each other." Hint, hint, cough, cough. Rabble, rabble. So they take off, and then it's at that point that we go back to Freed. We go back to Roy and Liko, and then they do bump into.
They bump into 3 Pokemon. They see a Wombat.
A Wombat, a Timber.
Yes.
And
Roggenrola. There you go.
Roggenrola. I knew we had seen it previously, but I couldn't remember. And Wombat especially is trying to warn him. And
it's like, there's something in here and you need to leave now. But they don't know. They don't speak Pokemon. So Liko decides to feed him.
Well, because everybody can use a snack, and Timber is kind of being the protector because it's got the freaking plank of wood there, So it's like, I'm gonna hit somebody with something. And they're like, try it. It's not gonna hurt you. And Fuecoco's like, yeah, I eat a shit ton of it. And Timber kind of is the canary in the coal mine, I guess, and is like, it's okay, guys. So they kind of do have a bit of a impromptu snack, and they kind of get the Pokemon on their side, and then Wombat kind of remembers what's going on, but he's like, but seriously, there's some shit.
There's some stuff that's going down in here, and you guys should not be here.
And it's at that point, I think, that they finally do stumble upon the explorers. And
in just a second, so yeah, they're going through, and after they see these Pokemon, the Pokemon leave, and they're all happy because they just got fed, and then Liko comes across some fainted workers that are on the inside, and then she walks over to them, and they're just weak. One of the workers says, well, all the energy that was inside of me is just drained, and I can't even stand. I can't do anything. We came across a Pokemon in here, and as soon as we came across that Pokemon, we just can't move. And she's like, oh my goodness. So she calls up Nurse Joy, and Nurse Joy said that she's going to meet these workers over at the entrance. So Liko and Roy help these workers get into a cart, and they push the cart. So the cart goes racing all the way down to the very end so that they can meet up with Nurse Joy. And it's at this point that our heroes are welcomed by the explorers, because Freed walks over as well and ends up meeting up with them. So now Amethio meets up with Freed, and then the other two, which are
Zerk and Ona.
Yeah, Zerk and Anya.
Anya.
Meet up with Liko and Roy. And it's a Pokemon battle that's getting ready to ensue from here.
Amethio. Never thought we'd meet up again in a place like this. Haven't seen you since that island.
Go, Ceruledge!
Oh, come on, pal. It's been so long. You don't even give me a hello. How you been?
Why waste any time? Let us begin.
You always gotta be rushing into things, don't you? Okay, Charizard, let's do this!
I thought you might be down here.
It's the explorers!
Looks like you've got your pendant on you.
Good, then we'll just take it.
Golduck, go! Use Scratch!
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Sprigatito!
Cap comes flying out of nowhere and hits Thunder Punch on the Golduck, which is bad news for Golduck because it's a water type as it is.
Yeah, for real. Golduck just went flying, bro.
I mean, we saw how well trained Cap is a couple episodes ago, so we know Cap's got some power behind him.
Yep.
And then we intermittently kind of cut back to Freed and Amethio, and Amethio has his Ceruledge. And he's kind of squaring off with Charizard, and Freed's kind of toying with him a little bit. He's like, oh, aren't you sick of meeting like this? You're always talking about a battle. You never want to know how I am. Never just want to hang out. It's always battle, battle, battle. And Amethio's kind of pissed off because he's like, I'm a bad guy. I'm not supposed, and because Freed just doesn't give a fuck.
So what ends up happening here, bro?
So, it looks like we're actually going to have a battle between Ceruledge and Charizard, but there's commotion, and as a viewer, we can safely assume that it's back with Zerk and Ona and Cap and Roy and everything, Liko, and so we all kind of go back to that because this is when we finally
get encountered by the Galarian Moltres that makes its first appearance into this cave.
Badass design.
Yeah. Have you ever seen? Was this your first time seeing Galarian Moltres?
Yeah, I did not catch that it was a Galarian. I mean, I'll be honest with the folks. I kind of caught on that it was a variation a little bit, not much, but a little bit before they said, "Oh, that's a Galarian." I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." But yeah, badass.
Yeah, there's also Galarian Zapdos and Galarian Articuno as well. So whenever you get the chance, look up those artworks because these Pokemon. So they're in Pokemon Go. When I'm playing the game, I still have yet to catch these, but I got some Master Balls now, so I plan on catching them when I finally come across them. But you get one shot. So when you finally encounter it, you get your Ultra Ball ready, you get your Raspberry ready, and you throw it over at the Galarian Pokemon that you're about to fight, and you have one shot, and you twirl your your Ultra Ball, and you throw it, and if it breaks out, it flees.
Right.
And that's only in Pokemon Go, and this was before I had Master Balls because I haven't encountered one since. But boy, I need one. Like so bad. It just pisses me off because it's the Pokemon I've been chasing for at least a year and a half now, and I have yet to get one.
Is that like one of your only gaps in your decks?
No, because I mean I have so they don't, the Galarian Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos, they go in the same spot as a regular Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno. So it's not like I'm adding to my Pokédex. It's just I want to add it to my party because it's a version of the Pokemon that I don't have.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Galarian Moltres comes out and it just starts battling, and Lico's pennant starts shining as well. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, this must have been one of his Pokemon." And Cerulege was getting ready to attack this Moltres, and Amethio is like, "Oh, hold on." And it's at this point that they let's see, Anya and Zerk start backing up, and they're like, "I'm calling my Pokemon back, and I do not want any of this smoke." And Moltres starts going over to try to battle Captain Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, I'm gonna, and Moltres lets out all of its aura, and it's at this point that Pikachu falls to the ground. It's like, all my energy has been drained. Bleh. And and Roy got Ash Ketchum syndrome, because at this point, as Moltres is back and forth between Captain Pikachu, Fuecoco, and Sprigatito, gets up all this energy, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna stand up, and I'm gonna overcome all of this. And I don't know how he did it, and these workers couldn't do it. But he just starts to shout. And he's like, come on, Fuecoco, let's go ahead and fight this Pokemon. And Fuecoco gets up, and so does Pikachu. And Pikachu goes in and tries to do a Thunder Shock when Moltres lets out one of its wing attacks. I believe it was like its version of a gust. Does it say if that move is a gust that it was?
No. You hit it. It literally says wing attack.
Oh, wing attack. Okay. So it's using wing attack, and Pikachu takes the brunt of it by using its electrical attack on Moltres. And all of a sudden, you see the Pokeball that it's holding in its feet. And Lico's like, oh no, I see the Pokeball, and I need to get it to understand. So she stands up with all of the aura of the Moltres inside of this cave. And she's like, I need to speak to it. And they're like, you know what? I think it's best that we get out of here. So they jump onto a cart, and Moltres is taking down the entire inside of this cave, and the cave just starts collapsing. And at this point, Pikachu, Fuecoco, Sprigatito, Liko, Roy are riding down in this cart, and Moltres just starts chasing right after them.
What's this? Huh? Liko! Roy! Charizard, use flamethrower!
Reed, watch out!
Just go, don't worry! Make sure Cap's okay! The whole time that voice was from this Pokemon?
And Amethio and Freed are still battling each other, and Ceruledge is battling Charizard, and then all of a sudden they hear all this clanking and banging because Moltres is hitting every last corner inside of this cave. And finally, at the very end, Amethio, Freed, see that Liko and Roy are inside of this cart, and they see a big bird Pokemon flying out. They're like, oh my gosh, Charizard, help him! And Charizard uses its flamethrower, and it throws it up at Moltres, and Moltres gets hit. And Freed's like, are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, we're fine. And he's like, all right, just get Pikachu out of here. So it's at this point that we end this episode with Moltres getting ready to battle Freed and Amethio. And it's a to be continued. Brah.
That was awesome.
Hey, we're about to get into the nitty gritty on this episode, bro.
Yeah. The last episode is like a lot of shit happens in 20 minutes.
Yes. The next episode is called Fury Galarian Moltres, and translated from Japanese version is Burning Galar Fire.
So, I was a little kind of frustrated that it didn't like literally pick right back up, because we started the next episode at the Pokemon Center.
We've restored your Pokemon to full health. They should be feeling much better now. See?
Oh, Sprigatito! Thanks so much for your help! And how are you feeling, Cap? Pikachu. Pika? Freed! You made it out!
Liko, Roy, you two okay?
We all escaped in one piece! Pika!
You were super brave back there, buddy.
Pikachu! Pika Pika! You were awesome too, Charizard!
Do you think I could ask you to take a look at Charizard?
Of course. Leave everything to us.
They're kind of hanging out outside on a bench, and they're like, usually I pride myself on not, running from a battle or conflict, but, that Galarian Moltres, that was something else. And, I just don't know. I don't know how we're going to combat it, because I think, Fuecoco and Sprigatito combined might reach level 15. He didn't say that, but, and they're like, we got to get the Moltres to kind of understand, but he's like, I don't know. And like, as Freed's kind of having that, we kind of noticed that Wattrel and Fuecoco are kind of scrapping a little bit. They're kind of getting rowdy, and they kind of get over by Sprigatito, and Sprigatito's like, well, I'm not having this. And she kind of puts out her powder, and it kind of calms Fuecoco and Wattrel. and that sets off a big ass light bulb on Freed, and he's like, "I got it." And
I know how we're gonna combat this Moltres.
He's like, "I got it. It makes perfect sense." So, frickin' main character syndrome, they run right back into where they barely got out of. And they're like, "Where is this Galarian Moltres? We got some answers we got to get."
And they bust on in there. And as soon as they go in, they go into the main part of the Galar Mine. And there's Moltres. Moltres isn't even deep in the mine anymore. Moltres is right there. And Freed lets out his Charizard. Roy has Fuecoco go out, and they both go and attack the Moltres flying in the air. And Moltres is like, you want to fight me? And Lico's like, you know what? I'm gonna fight with my Sprigatito. Now, okay, hear me out here. How
defend this.
How did Sprigatito and Fuecoco fight this thing and not have enough experience to either one of them evolve? This is a high ranked Moltres.
I had that thought because there's a point in a couple minutes from now where I was like, oh, they're pushing the evolution button on Sprigatito pretty quick. Nope, it was something to do with energy. I was like, the evolution path was right there. But anyway,
yeah.
But I blame Indigo because I feel like I feel like if this was Indigo, I feel like Sprigatito for sure would have evolved by now, just by happenstance.
Yeah, for real, right? I mean, so I at least feel better because I was thinking the exact same thing, bro.
Well, like I said, and I was making a bit of a joke about Fuecoco and Sprigatito together, maybe each equaling level 15, but they have to be low down there. I mean, for goodness sakes, Fuecoco was barely using Flamethrower at the end of the past episode.
Yeah.
And he's got Ember and he's got Stomp and Sprigatito's got Leafage and and you're going up against a frickin' Galarian version of a legendary Pokemon. They should have just been racking up the XP even if they were getting their butts kicked.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, bro. But am I?
But they go in there, and apparently the trick that Freed thought of was taking some of Sprigatito's scent and kind of layering it on top of some leafage and kind of wishing and hoping that was going to be strong enough to reach the Moltres.
Well, yes. And so the way that it happens, Moltres starts off by starting to use its wing attack, and Pikachu deflects it. So Sprigatito did what you said and started getting up its scent and then used its leafage, and then Charizard started using its wings to kind of flutter the leafage up into the air and start blinding Moltres right in the air. And it's at this point that Moltres kind of deflects it itself and is like, "Wah! I'm Moltres. I'm a beast."
How did that go?
Wah! I'm a beast, and it deflects all of it. And so it's at this point that they get another bright idea, which I think they're kind of ripping off of Roy a little bit, but I mean, it's good that they're okay with stealing ideas. But at this point, Charizard comes up to the brunt and is like, "Sprigatito, jump on my head." And Sprigatito goes and jumps right on top of Charizard's head, and it starts using its leafage while Charizard is using Flamethrower at Moltres. And now we have a a flying Sprigatito, and it's just hammering down on Moltres, and Moltres can't get a grip, and Charizard finally gets one of his flamethrowers to hit square in the belly of Moltres, and Moltres really feels the attack. And it's at that point Sprigatito starts using its leafage again, and Moltres is like, nah, you ain't hitting me with that.
This is it, Liko!
Sprigatito, use leafage! Oh yeah! Leafage with Sprigatito set! Sprigatito, again! It's no good. We can't hit it.
And it's at this point that the leafage is used up against everyone inside. So it starts using its aura and its wings to deflect the leafage. Leafage goes back and smacks Fuecoco straight in the face, and Fuecoco's like, oh, this hurts. It hits Sprigatito off of Charizard, and Charizard goes flying into the wall and just goes crashing. Charizard's like, oh, man. And Sprigatito ends up getting caught in midair and falls down to the ground, so it doesn't take too much of a brunt. And Charizard comes running down as well, and it's like, all right, we need to think of another plan. And it's at this point that Roy is talking to Moltres and is like, Moltres, look, we have these Pokeballs too. You need to calm down. We just want to talk to you. And Moltres is like, I'm not talking to you. And Lego's like, why are you so angry, Moltres? And Frieda's like, kids, get out of here. It's about to attack. And we get a great shot of Roy just running away. And and it's at this point that Roy is like, oh no, I'm not going to make it. And Frieda sends Pikachu out, and Pikachu's like, Pika. I'm gonna save you. And Pikachu just jumps up and does one of its Volt tackles into Moltres. And Moltres explodes in its own muss, basically, and Pikachu flies back, and Moltres is just standing there. And it's at this point that we have, let's see. Okay, so one of the Pokeballs ends up opening, and it's Arboliva. And Arboliva comes out and is like, Moltres, calm down. And Moltres is just looking on. And from this point, Moltres is like, I don't like you. Wing attack. And Arboliva blocks the attack with its wings. And Freed's like, man, I don't think Moltres is in the mood to talk. And I feel like I'm really getting into this. So, hey, bro, I'm gonna hand this part over to you if you want to take it from here.
So, Arboliva is kind of like, oh, so if that's how you want to play it, and Arboliva kind of, I'm gonna say hulks up, but I don't know if that's appropriate, and it kind of takes over the entire area of this mine. And this is where I thought they were pulling the evolution cord on Sprigatito, because they did a zoom in on Sprigatito, and Sprigatito started to kind of glow the way the Pokemon glow when they evolve. And I was like, holy shit, they're really hitting the emergency button. No, there weren't. This is just freaking Sprigatito having her He-Man moment, and kind of embracing the power that Arboliva's putting out to strengthen her attacks. So basically, this level 10 Sprigatito, all of a sudden with the snap of a finger, becomes level 55.
Yeah. Because
it's going toe-to-toe with this frickin' Moltres out of nowhere. and Freed and them are kind of standing back, and Moltres is getting ready to use Air Slash. Sprigatito's still feeling the Arboliva energy.
Sprigatito starts going in, and it starts using its leafage on Moltres, and Moltres is getting pissed. And Moltres is like, how dare you keep using the same attack on me? It hasn't worked yet, and it's not going to work now. And Liko is like, really? More leafage! And Sprigatito just starts using the leafage again.
That's all I got.
And Roy and Fuecoco jump in, and they are getting ready to they're getting ready to start helping. And this is where Roy is like, oh, crap, I forgot. I have another Pokemon. So he sends Wattrel out. And Wattrel and Fuecoco start using, Wattrel's using Wing Attack, and so is Charizard. And because Moltres was using the leafage thing to brush it back on the Pokemon to hurt him again, and Charizard and Wattrel are using their wings to basically make a tornado of this leafage. And if this was me at this point, I'd be like, Liko, enough with the leafage, because leafage was literally everywhere. And Pikachu jumps up and starts using Double Team on Moltres, and Moltres can't keep up at this point because it's getting hit with leafage, a whole gust of wind, and Pikachu just slapping it all across the face. And then what does Liko do? More leafage! And the leafage just starts going up, and it's hitting hard. And Moltres is like, I can't keep up. This is too much. I'm only one Pokemon. So it gets down, and it's finally like, you know what? I have your respect, guys. You guys went toe-to-toe with me, and it notices Liko's pennant, and Liko's pennant starts to glow. And Terrapagos, and it ends up jumping out of the pennant, and it's at this point that Terrapagos and Moltres are having a conversation. And we get a flashback and this is Freed's first time in one of these flashbacks, where Moltres is remembering its old trainer as they're talking, and Freed's like, what the heck is this?
Are you guys seeing this? That's Lucius, the ancient adventurer, right? It's kind of amazing.
We will find Laqua, my friend. I promise you that.
Find Laqua?
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Xyzal. At night.
What was that about?
Whatever it was cool. Does Laqua mean anything to anyone?
No, never heard of it.
They come out, and Moltres is like, all right, I will come with you. It drops the Pokeball. It goes into the Pokeball, and they have captured a Galarian Moltres at this point. But the episode is not over yet. They have to get Hatenna and Terrapagos back. They have Kabu walking into the Galar Mine, and Kabu is like, oh man, you guys have made a mess of things. And they're like, yeah, but we've gathered the Galarian Moltres. And he's like, oh, you captured it. And they're like, yeah, that is fantastic, guys.
Son of a...
And he's like, I knew you guys were a great team when I first met you, and it's at this point that that they start walking out of the Galar Mine, and they have Terrapagos wrapped up in a in like some type of cloth because they're hiding Terrapagos.
Like a hoodie, basically.
Yeah, and Kabu notices that it's wiggling, and Freed's like, "Yeah, well, it's time for us to go. It's nice seeing you again, Kabu. All right, have a good one. Bye." and they just start walking out, and Kabu is like, "You know what? I know they're hiding something, but that's none of my business." And it's at this point that they start running out, and this is where we get the ending with Amethio and the Explorer.
Are you sure about this? They're right there.
And walking away with that big Pokemon.
The Pokemon in the mine was not our goal.
All due respect, sir, we've come all the way to Galar and we're standing here empty-handed.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. You saw it too, did you not? That pendant. Or rather, that Pokemon radiating such an unusual light.
Are you talking about that little thing? But wouldn't the bigger one be...
We will follow them for now. And then we'll take that Pokemon.
He kind of knows that since they got all these Pokemon, that they're going to be the targets going forward.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was basically the end of the episode. Am I missing anything else on the end of that episode?
No, because I think, didn't they literally do the to be continued on Amethio's face? Like they didn't even go back to the ship.
Yeah, no, they didn't. So that's literally how we end part 2 here on the Netflix. So so think about it. Like for maybe like 3 or 4 months, this is what people in the U.S. had to sit on.
See, I would have been pissed if I was watching it like that, but I always appreciated a good cliffhanger. As long as I knew that the show was coming back. Like if you did a cliffhanger and you're like, oh, by the way, we're not show, it's like, well, fuck me then.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and tie a bow on this, Doug. I'm gonna go down these and I'm gonna give my ratings, and then I'm gonna see how you end up feeling in regards to it. So for the first episode, I'm gonna give that about a 3 out of 5 because I think it really progressed the episode, in Kabu's training. It kind of helped put into light how Liko is kind of thinking, and they carried that through the rest of these episodes. And the fact that they brought Kabu back in the last one kind of helped this rating a little bit. So I'm going to give it a nice little 3 out of 5. When it comes to the Hatenna episode, I liked it, but it wasn't a great episode. I'm going to end up giving it about a 2.5 out of 5 for that one. And then
even with the new Pokemon.
Yeah, even with the new Pokemon, because I mean it was fine and all, but I mean I don't know. I mean I think that's why I'm going to give it the 2.5 is because she got a new Pokemon, but I mean it didn't really advance anything kind of that much, but then you got all the action in the last 2, and I'm going to give the last 2 a combined score of a 4 out of 5. What about you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I'm with you on Kabu's training. I'm with you on giving that a 3. There was some good action. You really got a bit of Liko's motivation. I'm gonna disagree with you slightly on Hatenna.
Okay.
Because I was at about a 2.5, and then I was like, well, she did catch a Pokemon, so I'm gonna slightly goose it to a 3.
Okay.
On the merit of the new Pokemon.
And that's just respectable.
You know. And you and I are in complete lockstep with the last two, because I was going to say the same thing. I'm combining them into one, because it basically was a two-parter. They just didn't label it like that. Okay. And I'm definitely gonna give the finale two-parter a 4.
Okay, cool. Well, I feel like this episode kind of did it for us, bro, and we're now officially into the part 3 session of Netflix, and it's not going to take us long to get through that. So we will continue that starting next week. I'm not sure how many episodes we're going to do next week, but we can talk about that off air. But you definitely will be getting a new episode next week. Anything else that you would like to add, Doug?
No, I think that'll just about do it. Thank you for sticking with this impromptu, possibly mashup.
So, and I would like to do a little bit of housekeeping real quick for you. So if you are listening to us on the free feed, please subscribe to us on Spotify, because it helps us keep the lights on here on the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. And if you do have that little extra coin that you can throw our way, go ahead and subscribe to us on Patreon /Every Pokemon, and subscribe to us at the $10 tier. That's the tier that we recommend for everybody, because in that case you get the movies and you get the audio drama that we just dropped. I know we talked about it at the beginning of this podcast, but go ahead and subscribe, and you can see what that whole tier is about. But if you're on the fence, we do have a $5 tier with a 7-day free trial for all of you. So go ahead and subscribe if you're a little weary on it. But outside of that, go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
All right, and this is Professor Chris G telling all of you we will see you again next week for another episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. Have a good night.